Kathryn, it's a real pleasure to talk today about the Future Proof Leadership Programme. What is it that inspired you to sign and to apply on the programme?
Well, the opportunity and the space to learn safely about who I am as a leader, as a coach, as a facilitator, and I guess unique to me because, my career and what I've chosen is different to everybody else that I found on the course. But, we've all got a very unique career these days. And I wanted a space where I could learn, keep growing, and bring more of myself.
Nice. And what did you notice before the programme that wasn't quite right for you that you were hoping to get from it?
There were spaces in the way I work with people, particularly around my presence in a situation, that I noticed I wasn't present. I had a lot of hangover from all the crisis situations I had led in or coached in or facilitated in. And I didn't know that. So the relief and the stress that I could let go in understanding that, it was massive.
And so what shifted in your mindset about how you needed to be and the role that you played as a result of the programme?
Well, it was more that I was crafting my role and who I needed to be on the actual situation in front of me, rather than most crisis situations. As a leader, there's a rule book and there's a playbook, and you know what you've got to pull out for you've learned a lot of stuff that you bring out, and you might change it a little or adapt it for the situation, but actually in crisis you're moving fast, you're just pulling out I feel a bit of an ABC sometimes. And for me, what shifted was I didn't need my ABCs anymore. I could just show up. And the experience that I had and what I was doing was it was all there in the presence I brought, rather than all this kind of stress around it about, have I done it right? Is this right for the situation? Because, usually the situation has never been experienced before.
Yeah, it sounds freeing. Very freeing and liberating in that respect.
Liberating, yeah.
Yes.
Liberating. Yeah.
Amazing. And what about your cohort? How did they help in terms of what you got from the programme?
Everybody had come from, again, all our leadership journeys were unique. And so nobody had, even though we may have had crossovers or even similar types of organisations or roles, actually our experiences were very diverse, hugely valuable, even if it was a similar situation. And it just gave such richness to the course and to what was possible, actually.
Nice. And what about sort of feedback and impact? What sort of information learning did you get about, or how did that work on the programme, if you were trying to explain that to someone else?
So there were lots of ways to receive feedback, and I'd say that was the standout piece that you do, that the design of it was so feedback led, it was impossible to escape learning. And you do the 360 leadership questionnaire at the beginning, and then all the way through the invitation is for us to constantly compare and contrast, but also consider who we want to be. How do we want to be coming across? What impact do we want to be having? And I would say every single time we met, there was an aspect of what impact are you having on the people in the group? What impact have you had in whatever role you've played? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to give some kind of tweak or suggestion, or see how it lands really for people and the way they want to be in their authentic leadership.
Nice.
Because it has to be authentic to the person, right? But you can only really find out who you are in relation to others. And so that was the whole programme.
Lovely. sounds like their sense of you in the moment, you know, kind of, and getting that feedback is really right, it's invaluable.
And because it was so experiential, if there were any moments where, you know, when you're even training a leadership program, you know, there are places where people just aren't there because they're digesting or processing, or, you know, they need some space to do whatever they need to do. When I was doing that on the course, it was all recorded, so I could watch it back and see the piece that I'd missed or I was otherwise engaged in. And there were ways of, you know, seeing myself that wouldn't be available in any other way.
Yeah, fantastic. And as a result of the program, now what would you say has changed for you?
My first thought was like everything, but I think it has, and it has not necessarily done to just the course, but I'd say my levels of stress around living and working, like personally and professionally, are, I didn't know I was holding so much stress, and that it was impacting the way I worked and how much energy I had to show up at work and how I led. Yeah, I'd say that was the biggest impact, as well as taking opportunities that are beyond my kind of freelancing proposition as a professional. So that's changed. I hadn't, I think my whole kind of understanding of business marketing, you know, how you run a business, actually it's not really mapped onto the real world. You know, my whole business changed because of COVID. I went from face-to-face everything, as the rest of the world, to just online constantly. And so it gave me the opportunity to kind of update what I thought about myself, what I offer. And actually, if people are inviting me to do a piece of work, it doesn't stop me having a conversation, even if it's a piece of work I didn't know my business offered.
Yeah. So it sounded like you pigeonholed yourself potentially, or, you know, there were either ors, but it's more rounded, inclusive.
Yeah, it's more rounded, it's more inclusive, but also more like the conversation about why me, what can I offer, how does that work for the organisation or the client or the coachee. That's a more rich and valuable conversation in which we both learn out of. Whereas, you know, it's kind of more of a tick box before.
Yeah, yeah, feels so authentic and real.
Yeah, and I guess the comparison would be a procurement process where, you know, have I ticked all of these boxes for this organisation? Do I fit? Am I the right person to be in the room? And even if I'm doing that still, which I am, there will be a different conversation if I get through it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathryn. It's a real pleasure to talk, and I really appreciate you know, you're taking our opportunity here.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.